Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, the former mayor of the great city of Downey, and I'm here with my co-host, Eric. Your name is Eric. Co-host, the editor of the Downey Patriot, Eric Pierce, and you're here listening and watching Talking Downey with Mario
and Eric.
Sorry. Rough start on there. I don't know why I'm like...
We've only known each other for how many years?
Yeah, 20-some-odd years or whatever, and whatever.
It's Eric.
Eric. Okay, so Eric, I like that. So, Eric, how you doing? It's Monday today. We're taping this on a Monday.
Yes, no, I'm doing great. It's Monday's always, some people dread Mondays. I like Mondays. It's the start of a brand new week, fresh week. I'm excited to work, and by Thursday I'm mentally exhausted and tired. But I like Mondays personally.
I still think in your job, and it's amazing. You just got to start over every week. So, I'm sure some stories you can plan ahead to put it, but editing a newspaper, to me, it's just scary. What am I going to put on the front page this week?
Right. It's scarier when you're working at a daily paper, because then you're really under pressure. But a weekly, it's actually kind of fun. You get to plan out what's going to be your coverage for the week, and then you always get some surprises happening. So it's fun.
How far in advance do you work? Obviously... some holidays coming up, you kind of know that you're going to put some kind of story about, Thanksgiving or something.
Right.
And stuff like that. But how far in advance are you comfortable? Do you have a timeline saying, I can put this in the middle of October, I can put this in the middle of November?
Well, it's funny because we just had a discussion in the office today about the elections, our election coverage.
Yeah.
So we're already planning stories leading up to election day, and we can kind of sort of plan.
Right.
We try not to plan too much because life is always going to throw you some curveballs, so you don't know what's going to happen. So we can plan and schedule to a certain degree,
right?
But knowing in the back of our minds that things always change, so be prepared for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So Eric, we just started talking about your job, and this is Labor Day weekend. Okay, so to honor everybody, all the working men and women of this country that have made this country great, we thought we would have some fun with this telecast, this podcast. So you came up with the idea.
Yeah.
So
I thought it would be fun for Labor Day to talk about our first jobs and kind of compare notes and see what we did, because obviously right now I'm a journalist and I have a couple different jobs, but my main job, I guess, is with the Downey Patriot. You're in insurance broker, right? And it's funny because I've always known you as Downey's biggest cheerleader, as the former Downey mayor. It's sometimes
politics, right?
I forget sometimes that you have to make some money,
right?
And,
right. Being on the Downey City Council and even being the civilian aide to the secretary on there doesn't pay a lot of money on there, nor should it. But yes, that's my the one that pays my mortgage for all those years when we sold our company in 2014. And
but you didn't retire though.
No. I had a 5-year contract. We had built up a company. Gosh, this is a little story on here, I guess. So we started, our agency was Scanlon, Guerra, Jacobson. So we started this firm where, we didn't know next Friday how we're going to make payroll, kind of thing, right? We were hustling, working hard. So we kept growing bigger and bigger, and we got to be one of the top 10 largest in Southern California, top 100 in the United States. And it was kind of nice having your name on there, Scanlon, Jim Scanlon, my partner, Guerra, and Paul Burke. And so then in 2014, when I was on the city council, this large company, Gallagher, Arthur J. Gallagher and Company, third largest in the world, kept coming after us the entire year for us to, they wanted our infrastructure, they wanted to employ, we had tons of large staff, and we were established, and they really wanted our talent. They wanted us to be able to run their West Coast. But we weren't for sale. We were finally, we'd reached the pinnacle. We were finally getting, when owners start getting bonuses themselves, we worked on it. We used to reinvest the money back into the business for many years. We have several employees that were making more than we were for quite a few years. So we had finally gotten comfortable, and then literally one of those things, make you an offer you can't refuse kind of thing. So we had and I don't know if I've told this story before, but had our elections on Tuesday for me running for Senate. And on Wednesday, when we had lost by a point and a half, our staff, and we said goodbye right here. And
You're talking about your state senate.
my state senate. So that was on Tuesday. On Wednesday, on Thursday, I literally flew to Chicago to sign the papers to sell our company to Arthur J. Gallagher.
Yeah.
And then on January 1st, started with the new company. So the plan was to work for 5 years, just handle the book of business. My partner was going to be president of the West Coast, and we had all the employees and stuff. And it was totally different being your own boss and then going to a corporate infrastructure. Great company. I'm still there now as an executive, but not what you're used to. You had to get approval on your expense accounts. You had to get forms you had to fill out. You had processes and procedure. It was good for the client, but it was like getting them used to. But I was going to do it for 5 years. And then at the end of my 5-year contract, I'm like, I enjoy what I'm doing. I like the people I'm working with. I like my clients, so I've stayed. So,
good.
And this pays the bills.
You know what's interesting? So last week I interviewed Rick Rodriguez, the former Downey mayor, for the Downey Patriot podcast. And what struck me is that he also works. And there's so many people here in Downey that I feel can retire if they wanted to, but they choose to work because they enjoy what they do. And that's very interesting to me. They don't see it as work. They don't want to just be home. They take a lot of pride in what they do, and they generally they enjoy what they're doing.
Oh yeah, Eric, I'm telling you, I don't know what percentage of my time that I do for volunteer work and charity work and so forth, but I love the people I'm doing that with. This office here, here in the Downey, I'm a mile from my house. I walked here during COVID. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have this office, and we overlook downtown Downey here. I need to have a place to go and get work. And my days, sometimes they're 12-hour days, and it goes from the business standpoint of handling clients to I get a lot of Army calls, and you do this, and then I get church calls, and I'll meet with couples, and I'll do baptisms and this and that, and you have all this. And then sometimes, God, a couple of weeks ago, I had 2 chaplain calls right first thing in the morning for Downey PD. That 2 people that had passed away within an hour. So you do that, but Eric, I'm sorry, I don't want to. I don't have any plans to retire ever. I don't know what else I would do. I'm not,
it's part of it's what makes life interesting. I have, in addition to my Downey Patriot job, I have a couple of other. I sell real estate with Century 21 Peak. I do some work with the Downtown Association, the District of Downey. I do a little bit of consulting and marketing work with small businesses. I kind of have my hand in different pots. In addition to my volunteer work. And I think I enjoy it. It gets tiring, but every day is very kind of unique and different. And it's all about helping people, which I really enjoy. And
somebody has asked me that too. I think it's the people you work with. I think the people you're involved with. And we tend to make, those are the centers of influence and the circles of influence that we all have. And I think that's what makes it. Being with the Army, the civilian aide to the secretary, that is the coolest job and the coolest thing I've ever done, because I get to meet some amazing people and I get to hopefully help some young people and shape some lives and do something. But that's amazing. Somebody asked me that between being mayor and my CASA job, and I said CASA is definitely cool. The best job I ever had was being mayor, because you get to make some immediate impact that you see some results on there. But you're right. What else would we do? I don't know.
I don't know.
I can only read a book so often, and I do. But anyway. So what was your first job, Eric? I want to hear about it. And by the way, to set this up, I don't know what it is. We've never talked about it.
You don't know.
I don't know what your first job is.
That's right.
So I'm kind of curious myself.
So my very first official job, like where I was paying taxes, was at age 16. I was a sophomore in high school, and I took an ROP class. I don't think ROP is even around. It's not around Downey anymore. It has a new name, but ROP, and I got a job at Crown Books. Books. And Crown Books, it was a bookstore. It was a
at
bookstore.
Stonewood Shopping Center.
Right, and so they're not around anymore.
No, I remember them.
But it was there at Crown Books, stocking, just general, customer service, and then eventually I went to the register. The funny part though is for about 6 to 8 months I wasn't paid. I was only getting credit, and I feel like they were taking advantage of me a little bit because I was free labor.
Yeah.
I was there working after school. They would call me in on the weekends, and I was there working, and for free. Eventually, that internship expired, and they did hire me. And you know what? It was actually one of my favorite jobs because I love to read. I'm a big book person.
Right.
And so helping people find books and just,
Right.
you get discounts. We got free books. And it was in the mall.
Right.
And so like as a teenager, you go get some Cinnabon and you interact with the other mall workers.
Right.
And it was a lot of fun. That was my very first job.
You know what's funny is I remember that Crown Books, and when you'd walk in, they'd have the new big selling book was right there in the middle on there with a big counter thing right there in the middle on there. I remember the registers were on the left hand side as you walked in. So yeah, I do remember that. I used to like going there. Crown Books.
They're not around anymore.
I know.
You don't see any bookstores. I mean, you have Barnes and Noble, but that's about it.
But we don't have them here in Downey.
No,
that was the only complaint too.
Right.
On their, Mayor, bring a steakhouse, a Trader Joe's, and a bookstore to Barnes and Noble.
Right. But a bookstore probably would not survive. It wouldn't succeed.
Yeah.
That's just the honest truth.
Yeah.
And
These
I buy my books off of Amazon.
I did. I just bought 2 books this morning on Amazon.
Yeah.
I was literally on there, and I said I heard it about one over the weekend. I went in there, $18.95. I'll probably have it tomorrow.
Right. And last time I was at Barnes and Noble, they're pretty expensive.
Oh,
I mean, for a brand new book, they're expensive.
Oh yeah.
So
well, you can get our book, Embracing Change, on there, An Immigrant Saga, written by Mario Guerra and Eric Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get that on Amazon.
On Amazon.
Barnes and Noble still.
There you go.
So anyway, in the publisher's website.
Okay, so after these are my early jobs, just a couple of them. After Crown Books, I was hired at Burlington Coat Factory.
Oh.
And
did we have one of those in Downey?
No, this was a Whittier store, and this was I was hired when they were first opening, so I helped open the store. So before they were even open to the public, I helped stock it, set up the shelves, or whatever.
You got paid on that one.
I got paid on this one, and this job I hated it. I hated it. I was there for about 2 months, and then when they actually finally opened, I worked in the men's section. And they gave me like a tape measure to measure the guys for suits or whatever.
Right.
But the funny part is they didn't tell me what to do. They didn't tell me what to measure. How it was all for show. And so I would pretend that I was like measuring your shoulders or your arms. I was doing nothing. It didn't mean anything. And then he would just grab something off the rack, and I hated it. And I'm embarrassed to say, but it got to the point where I took a lunch one day and I just didn't return. I never got my final paycheck. It was too much. I despised.
Okay,
that job.
so did you finally get paid at the book place after your internship?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so how much an hour are you making?
I don't remember. It was minimum wage. This would have been like in 1996.
Okay.
So I don't know what it was. I do remember though, after getting my first paycheck, I thought it was huge. I thought it was a great paycheck. And I opened a checking account and I was happy. I felt like I was rich.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of, I'm sure it wasn't, but it felt like it was a lot of money.
Yeah, when you're a young person, you got a couple of bucks in the bank, and at that time you were living with mom still and everything else.
Yeah.
So your responsibilities were less than normal.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How funny.
Okay, after Burlington.
How much did you make at Burlington? Do you remember that?
I have no idea.
Oh man.
I have no idea.
Dude, I remember my first one. I'll
Do
tell
you
you
really?
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember my second, third, or fourth.
No? Okay. I know it was minimum wage. I didn't really have bargaining power. I worked for Sears. I did merchandise pickup, so if you bought something heavy, a TV or a stove or whatever, I was the guy who would load it into your car.
Yeah.
I also worked for KFC, and the interesting part is I was a delivery driver. And so back then that was really rare. Like the only restaurants back then that were delivering were pizza places, but KFC would deliver. And I had an old like Thomas guide in my car, and we were going through the Thomas guide.
Yeah.
And then eventually we went to MapQuest, and so I would print out like I'll go on MapQuest, type in an address, and put it in there. That was a really fun job, just delivering chicken.
Very cool. You know what? Our youth will never. Well, our youth aren't probably listening to this, but they'll never know the Thomas brothers.
No.
You know, you have to get the address. You look in the back of the book, and you got to go G4. Okay, they on there, and then okay, if I'm over here, then how do I get there?
Absolutely.
You know,
and you would have to hope that it's up to date.
Yeah.
Because most people would buy one and have one from the 80s or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I used to get one every year because that was like my investment in technology was to get an updated map.
Yeah. Okay, and then I worked for Southern California Newspaper Group. This was my very first like journalism job, and that was writing for the Press Telegram, the Guido Daily News, covering sports. So I covered high school sports, I covered college sports,
and horse racing.
I
just saw you post that on there. Tell us about that. That was cool.
Horse racing was fun. So this was over, at Hollywood Park at Santa Anita. And they actually gave me my own little column in the paper where I got to predict the horse racing results. I have no idea what I was talking about.
Well, see, that's what it gets me. When I've gone to the horse race, and you have those columns by the experts, right? And so forth. So you think, wow, these people, they know the horses. They walk by. Oh, he's got a shoulder hurt today, and his calf there, and the jockey's extra. Blah. So you think they got this expertise, and they're predicting that. So you're saying you were one of those. And you didn't know anything about horse racing?
I had no idea what I was talking. I didn't know what a parlay was. I had no idea what was going on.
Well, I saw that newspaper that you recently put, and I looked at it. You look very professional, and you look like you know what you're doing with the horse.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But it was actually a lot of fun, and it was. I probably lost money on that. I remember that way. I do remember how much I got paid. I got paid $35 per story.
Oh, wow.
And which was nothing, because if you figure you're covering, say, a college football game, you're there for 4 hours. You're there for the pregame, for the actual game, post game, and then driving back to the office, typing up the story. That was a long day, and for $35, it was it was so fun. In that moment, I don't regret doing it. But I wasn't making money.
How funny! So did you ever bet any of the horse races that you predicted?
No, I didn't because I didn't trust myself. I had no idea what I was doing.
Do as I say, okay? Bet on the Billy Bob to win in the third, but I'm not doing it because I don't know what I just said.
And the funny part, the angry phone calls I would get after the races from people telling me that I had no idea what I was doing.
You're like, you're right.
You're right. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh my God, that is so
funny.
Why
are you listening to me?
That's funny.
And then after that, it was at the same time. That's when I got hired by the Downey Patriots. I was 20 years old when I got hired by the Downey Patriots. I couldn't even legally drink, but I started there, and
you've been drinking ever since.
I've been drinking ever since. But it's been 20 years.
Wow.
So that's my.
Any regrets? I mean, not journalism, of course, is your life and your career. Any regrets being in journalism? Is there something else that you wouldn't have thought?
No, it's tough. I knew going in that it was a tough career. What I didn't anticipate is, when I first started in journalism, it was a boom. There were newspapers everywhere. They were thriving. Eventually, as the internet really took off, it went into a downward spiral. Newspapers struggled to survive. They struggled how to be financially fit. And so there was a time where my goal was I wanted to work for the LA Times. That was my goal. But then they started laying off people. And so I knew it wasn't going to happen. Eventually, I did have a story and a photo published in the LA Times, which was really cool. So that kind of gave me like the validation that, hey, that's good enough for me. I'm not going to work there, but it's not because I can't. It's just the circumstances.
Right. So you were worthy.
I was worthy, at least for one story and one photo. So that was fine.
Very cool.
But that's basically it.
Good. Very cool.
What was your first job?
And
how old were you?
So here's the whole thing my first job was as a paper boy at 10 years old. Okay, and I did the Daily Signal in Huntington Park, and then the Herald Examiner, which had the Sunday one. You had to get up at 4 in the morning and double fold. Your hands were always filthy, and you had the newspaper wrap. But it was really child abuse then, because for example, the paper, you'd get paid on the last 5 clients, right? So the people then would pay, I don't know, it was like $2 a month for it, if that much. So then the last 5, that was what you made, right? So you got paid like $10 a month. So, but if somebody stiffed you, you didn't get paid from that. It came out of your pocket, right? And it always seemed wrong to me. I always like resented that. But then you also learn business, believe it or not, because you learn that, look, I'm Mrs. O'Malley. If I put the paper on the porch, she's going to give me a quarter tip. So you kind of learn customer service. So that's always great.
Were you on the bike?
I was on the bike. Sunday morning then, when I got more and more and I took 2 and 3 routes, my mom and dad felt sorry for me. And on Sunday with the big heavy Herald Examiner Sunday paper, we would put the back of the station wagon down. And God, I can't believe I'm saying this, because then it wasn't thought of, but I literally sat on the back of the open station wagon, and I knew I could throw it over there and over here, and so the car was going slowly. Today, that's child abuse, and it's like, oh my God, no! Put on your seatbelt and strap. I know, just crazy.
You would end up on the crime watch page.
You would, and my parents would have been in jail.
Yeah.
But they were sweet. I mean, the papers would get delivered at 3:34. My mom would get me up. I'd sit there by myself, hand rolling the papers, putting the rubber band, and you got the stack. And then by 4:30, when you're done in the big stack, then I'd got to go put it in the back of the station wagon, and my mom or my dad would take me around. So I learned value, and I learned business, and you learn all kinds of stuff. It was a great experience, but I was really young, of course.
Shout out to your parents for getting up that early to support you and help you.
Yeah, they did. They really did. They were good people.
Yeah.
So then I got this job at the age of 13 at Taco Bell on Florence there in Huntington Park. It was owned by a Downey family, and it was for $1.35 an hour. The minimum wage was $2.10. Okay. So I kind of knew, at first I was just happy to get this job because it was more money, but then you realize that these people are, again, taking advantage of, wages, young people and stuff. And then, I did the cashiers, you learn how to make everything. I learned how to make on your breaks, you make your own best burritos, for yourself.
Yeah.
But it's interesting is the bag of beans would come, and one of the things we had to do is spread it out, and you by hand had to take the rocks out. They're little rocks. They're little rocks. The beans, the pinto beans, they almost look like a pinto bean, but I guess when they scoop them all up off from the dirt, there's little pebbles. So you have to scoop. I mean, you'd be amazed. There'd be a pile of pebbles out of a 50-pound bag.
Wow.
So then you got to put that in the pressure cooker. You put the ingredients in, and so it was a lot of responsibility for a 13-year-old. And again, you learn. But then I got a big boy job. I got myself a job. By the way, I got robbed there once.
Did you really?
I did. The guy came, put his hand through the window, put a gun right here, and he goes, "Give me your money." And I'm trying to open up the register, and I'm all nervous, and I couldn't get it open. And like an idiot then, it was, I don't know, it was to save the owner $50. I had just cleaned out the register, and I had it underneath there.
Yeah.
So when you did that, and then when I opened it up, I go, "Sir, we've had a slow day," and I gave him the whole tray, and there was nothing underneath because I had just cleaned it out. So, for me now, you look back, I risked my life by lying to this crook for $50 worth. Anyways, I remember he made me get down, and he goes, "I want you to do 100 push-ups." So I'm doing 100 push-ups, and then finally a young gal comes up from the back that was working with me, and she saw me and starts laughing. I go, "Call the police," Anyway.
And you were 13?
I was 13.
Wow.
And all the police guys in Huntington Park, when they all come there, I knew them all. They were friends, if you will. And, I'd give them extra cheese. I always took care of the police officers, right? Extra cheese, then you get friends, right? Anyways, but that was kind of interesting. So then I went and got a big boy job. I got to be a stalker and the ice cream guy at Save-Ons in Bell, okay? Where I worked through high school. I worked, long hours there. And, I don't know what I made, but I know that if you worked on Sunday, you get an extra $1 an hour. And
Now is this Thrifty ice cream?
no, Save On drugs. Yeah.
Okay.
No, Thrifty was our competing brand.
Got
Come
it.
on, man.
Okay, got it.
You can't mix up the two. Save Ons and there's Thrifty.
Got it.
Thrifty's is the one with the round scoop thing.
Right.
And Save On's is the regular one.
Okay.
So, and anyways, but again, you learn stuff. You learn. I mean, I get all the way up to 17. I was going through my in college already during high school. High school, I would go to college. I go to 2 classes at HBI. I'd go to East LA Junior College. I wanted to study administration and justice. I wanted to be a cop. Okay, and then I'd come and I'd work at Save-Ons from 12 to 8. I'd close up at 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So it's like it was a full-time
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
And I still look back at it. I'm like, how did I ever do that?
Yeah.
And and I regret my senior year of high school because I didn't enjoy it.
Right.
It was 2 classes, then I'd go to East LA, and then I'd
Right.
come back and work. So I didn't get the senior experience. I
Sure.
always wanted to grow up in a hurry.
Right.
But the Save-On thing, again, you learn. Your friends would come by, you'd give them extra ice cream or
Yeah.
extra pistachio nuts, and
You're the man.
I'm the man.
If you're
I'm the
working
man.
behind the
I'm-
ice cream counter,
yeah.
you're the man.
My arm always smelled. It was cold for my arm here from the thing and so forth.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you learn from every job.
Yeah.
So, and what did I do after that? So then during college, I was a security guard at Fedco in Cerrito. I was the guy. Now like you do at Costco, you have people that look at your receipt.
Yeah.
I was at Fedco, or in the back when people would come get their furniture, I'd check it off and whatever. And it was just terrible. It was just boring. I mean,
funny.
in the front, I liked it when people would come out. Hey, how are you doing, sir? Hey,
Yeah.
how are you doing? How are you doing? So I've always liked that. But it was Fedco. It got me through sometimes in college, and then I found myself a job at a headhunting firm. And that's how I found my insurance job. I
Got
went
it.
as an underwriting trainee at Great American Insurance Company.
That's when your career started.
That's when my career started, and
Right.
$800 a month.
Yeah.
$800 a month, and so so this is Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
So have you had any job? I mean, we honor and respect the working man,
Right.
men and women of this country that built this country.
Right.
One of the things, obviously, is the unions. You ever been part of a union?
I've never been part of a union. When the closest I came, I think, was when I worked for Southern California newspaper group,
Yeah.
the newspapers. There was, I think, I heard some talk about unionizing. They never did. They have since. Now they are a union. But no, I've never been part of a union.
Yeah.
Have you?
Interesting. The only one that was the company was Save-Ons. So Save-Ons, they make you join the Retail Clerks 770, right? Retail Clerks Union. And at that time, I'm sure, especially today's era, for the retail clerks, it's good to be unionized and the benefits that they receive and so forth. I'm not as familiar, but I know back then I resented it.
Yeah.
Because, I was making $70 a week or whatever I was making, or $70, $100, but they would take out $10. And, the union benefit, it's just going towards your retirement and so forth. You're 18 years old. I don't care about my retirement.
Oh, yeah.
I want my $10, So I used to resent it. So I was in the union there for a couple of years.
Right.
Retail clerk 770, local 770. And I don't know if that money's been there from 1976.
It would be fun to check and see where
You know
it
what? I
is.
think I should. I don't know, 2 years worth of, retirement things. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's the only one because, and that's, I'm not knocking anything or anybody that's an employer, or excuse me, that is employed, but I figured out that I wanted to be my own boss. And even after the insurance business, when I learned the insurance company side, and then I started working on the brokerage side, that's when I realized that I could do this. You just got to take chances on yourself. You got to expend yourself, and it's hard to give up that regular paycheck that happens every Friday, every other Friday. And when we started our insurance business, trust me, it was you had some rough times or concerns, and you don't want to tell it, but you got to your family's got to be here. You got to get a paycheck
Oh, yeah.
to pay your family, to pay for your expenses. So, but obviously at the end, we rang the bell, if you will. We sold out. We did very well when we sold our company in 2014, and it was a good choices for us.
Absolutely.
So they were-
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I do like being busy and having control of what I do. I won't lie, there are some days where I wish I had like a 9 to 5 job where I
Yeah.
can clock in, clock out, and it kind of be done.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm constantly on my phone getting texts and emails and communicate.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop on the weekends. I don't
Yeah.
I don't get days off. Even on Labor Day, I'm sure I'm going to be working on Labor
Right.
Day, and so it's I do have those moments where I wish I had like a regular job where I can
Right.
kind of leave my job, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I kind of need that freedom.
Yeah.
I need that flexibility
Right.
to do other things.
Right,
you
right.
know?
Well, that's the one thing in my company now with Gallagher. You know, I'm a salesperson. I have about 40 business accounts. I don't do smaller accounts, so they're business accounts, and you know, I get paid when the company gets paid, when
Yeah.
Gallagher does. So I make it on commission. So if you lose an account, you don't get paid. I don't have a regular salary, and so forth. So, and when I was young, it was nerve wracking
Right.
to do that. But then I also had the ownership of the company.
Mhm.
So now I don't get a salary, if you will. I'm an executive and I help the team, but basically I'm managing my own account. But now I'm older, so now I'm a little bit more established.
Right.
So it's a little bit different on there. But yeah, no, it's always a grind. But you know, for anybody that's looking to take a chance on starting a business, I'd say, you know, weigh your pros and cons. But you got to be all in.
Right.
Especially at the beginning, it was hard for Ann and I, because and I think some of our older kids knew that, you know, it was 8, 9 o'clock at night before you get home at times, but
Yeah.
things had to get done. There was nobody else, so you built it up that way.
Without the guarantee of a paycheck.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not easy.
yeah,
It's really
yeah.
not easy.
And when we started our firm too, our office was in Calabasas. So think of driving from Downey to Calabasas
Oh, yeah.
every day, every single day.
Right.
You know, and it's so funny so finally years go by, and I start thinking, you know what? I'm going to start working one day of the week. I'm going to work out of the house, right? So I'm going to take every other Friday and work out of the house. So the first time you do it, you know, you come downstairs, you know, 8 o'clock, 8:30, you're in your robe, you got a cup of coffee, you're reading the paper, and all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and you realize I can't waste the whole day.
Right.
So what I came up with, and this is well before, you're talking now, you know, the year 2000 or something, and the funny thing is I realized even then, what made it for me, you have to go take a shower, you got to get dressed, and then I would come downstairs in my office and shut the door.
And be productive.
And now you're at work, because it's
Right.
hard to talk to a client or to talk business with somebody when you're in your, you know, robe.
Yes, absolutely.
Which, you know, modern day, fast forward 22 years, a lot of people do that
Oh,
now,
absolutely.
you know.
During the pandemic, that's
Yeah.
what we all learned.
Yeah,
Much
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I would have gone nuts during that if I couldn't come in here.
Right.
I just, and I understand why so many people, because if your office was not open that you couldn't go to,
Right.
it's terrible for that.
Yeah, you know, I'm a total morning person, so I'm up early in the morning, and I like that quiet time to read the news and kind of establish what my day is going to be like, because I need to know what's going on.
Right.
I checked the news wires, which is like a wire. It's like a subscription service
Yeah.
for news agencies, and it gives like a rundown of what the news that's expected for the day.
Right.
You get some stories. It kind of gives you an idea of what to expect, which is
okay.
kind of interesting.
Right.
And then it's good for me to kind of get ready, and then people start coming to the office, and you start
Right.
making phone calls or whatever.
Right.
But no, different people just work different
Absolutely.
times.
And my wife's that way in the morning. She wants her quiet half hour with her cup
Yeah.
of coffee
Yeah.
downstairs. And you know what's interesting is there was this general that spoke at a commencement ceremony, and he was talking about the 10 most important things to do in life. And he said the very first one is when you wake up, make your bed. Because after you make your bed, you've already accomplished something for the day. So your
Yeah.
day gets better and easier. And I just thought of that the other day, and it's like, you know, and that's kind of true.
It's very true. It's very true.
Or you can go the other way. What's that old line? Mark Twain once said, he says, eat a frog first thing in the morning, and then the rest of your day gets much better. And that's true.
It's true. It would be true.
Yeah,
It would
yeah.
be true.
You ever ate frog?
Never eaten
Frog
frog
leg?
before.
No,
Never eaten
neither
frog.
have I.
No, I would.
So-
I've never been to a restaurant that serves frogs. I mean, it's not my
we gotta
style.
go to Louisiana, dude, or something,
Yeah.
right? I don't know. I
I'll
don't
try.
know.
I don't know where.
You know what? I'm gonna look up a Yelp and see if anybody's got frog leg. Where they sell frog leg, I'll buy you
Maybe-
some. There.
yes, there we
We'll
go.
try them on there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Mario, it's been fun.
it's been fun on there. Listen, for happy Labor Day to everybody. It's traditionally the end of summer, the wind down of summer.
Yeah.
But so that's on Monday, and Saturday I gotta end with this though. So
Yeah.
Saturday it starts football season.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the Figueroa Tech is playing. I don't know, Rice or who cares? They're playing somebody for UCLA, and that's why I
Yeah.
wore this today. So we play the Mighty Bowling Green. Okay, I'm making sarcastic because we got an easy, lame preseason
Yeah.
schedule, if you will. I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
care. We'll take it. We've had the tough teams. Michigan bailed. They were too scared to play us, so we got stuck with Bowling Green. I'm being facetious, but they really did
Yeah.
cancel. But Eric, there's something about this time when football season starts. It's just Americana. All these stadiums and
Right.
Tuscaloosa and Ann Arbor, they're full and
Yeah.
people come alive. There's something about that tailgating experience, being with your friends and so forth. I don't know. I love this.
You
time of
probably.
year.
I've never been to a college football game, like a big league. I've been to smaller colleges. You promise that you'll take me to
I will take you to a UCLA game. There's
Yeah.
nothing when you come out of the tunnel, okay, and our tickets are in tunnel 20, so I've had them there since we moved there in 1902. When you come out and the light, it comes out,
Yeah.
and you're like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
So Saturday morning, as I do that with my grandson Benny, it's just a great experience.
Yeah.
We're going to melt Saturday
Good.
because it's going to be
It's
hotter
gonna
than
be
heck.
hot.
But anyway, so got off track as I usually do. But football season starts. We have Labor Day. I want to thank the American worker because that's who built this country. You think of the people building the skyscrapers in New York. You think of the rivet. You think of Rosie the Riveter. You think of the working men and women that have always been here for our country. Yes, you have all the combinations of different jobs and different people that do that. But we celebrate that this
Yeah.
weekend, and that's what it should be. Yes, we have barbecues. Yes, we're together with our family. Yes, we get a day off, but it's because the American spirit is in all of that.
Yeah.
Regardless of the retail clerk's 770 union that's got like $45 worth of retirement. So, anyways, so thank you for listening.
Thank you for watching. And we also want to give a shout out to Financial Partners Credit Union for sponsoring our podcast. Their support makes this podcast possible, for better or for worse. But we want to thank them for their support and for being such a great steward of the community. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
And this has been Talking Downey with Mario.
And Eric.